Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back! We are back to making battle reports. This time, this is battle report number 1 for Warhammer the Old World. That's right, people, this is my very first game of Warhammer the Old World. I am super excited to finally putting back miniatures back on the tables and throwing dice again and bringing back some battle reports. It's been long overdue, and it's finally got some time to where I could actually do so as well. This is going to be a 3,000 point battle. This is going to feature my brand new army, my Beastmen Brayherds army at 3,000 points versus my friend Iron Major. He's our resident terrain wizard who makes all the terrain you see on this channel, and he is playing 3,000 points of Dwarfen Mountain Holds. And he's got a little bit of scouting action taking place over here on the right-hand side of the battlefield. So yeah, we're playing this at 3,000 points. We're doing a battle line scenario with typical deployment and rules, of course, attached to it. I'm just super excited to get back into it, you guys. So with that being said, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we'll show you the army list for both armies, as well as talk about the scenario rules. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad. Why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Valor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then to hell with you. Assemble the army!
Oh my goodness, you have no idea how good it is to hear that battle sound again. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the scenario real quick. So the scenario that we are playing on our very first game of Warhammer the Old World is Battle Line. It is the most typical game of Warhammer that we play on this channel with standard deployment as well as standard victory conditions, because why mess with perfection when you don't absolutely have to? So let's, with the scenario rules over with, let's go ahead and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so up first are the Herds of Doom, which is my 3,000 point Beastmen Brayherd army, which you guys have seen being painted on my series Beast Mode, where we actually talked about exactly how I assembled and painted this army. So over on the left-hand side, let's go and talk about that unit first. That unit is called the Moon Calves. It is a unit of 20 Ungor with Standard Bearer as well as Musician. They have hand weapons as well as the short bows. Right next to them on the front are the Snarl Beasts, which are a unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds armed with claws and fangs. And right behind them is my Hooves of Doom, a unit of 28 Bestigor with Gouge Horn as well as Standard Bearer Musician. They have great weapons as well as heavy armor. They are veterans, so they can reroll leadership tests, and they also have the Banner of Outrage as well, which allow them to reroll leadership tests for Primal Fury. Now leading that unit are my General Peliquin the Doomcaller. He is a Beast Lord. He's also the general of my army. That is also why my Bestigor are core. He's also got a hand weapon, heavy armor, as well as shield. He's packing the Rune of the Beast Ascendant, so that way he can give his units +1 to their leadership for all Ungor and Gore and Bestigor within range. He's also got the Giant Blade as well, so that way he's got +1 to his strength as well, causes 2 damage. Really powerful magical weapon there. Also in that unit is Cabal of Constant Sorrows. He is my War Gore, who's also my army's battle standard bearer. He's also got heavy armor as well as a shield. He's got the Muscular Monstrosity gift that makes him super strong, gives him +1 to his strength. He's also packing the Sword of Might to make him strength 6 on the attack, as well as the Burning Blade, so that way he can take away regen saves with flaming attacks. And next on the right hand side is one of my special choices, which are the Stormbringers. It is a unit of 6 Dragon Ogres. These guys are packing halberds as well as heavy armor as well, and that's going to be my monstrous cavalry for this army. And on the far right hand side are my 3 rare choices. These are my Monster Mash. On the left hand side, that is the Beast of Midian, which is a Chaos Giant. He's packing a Chaos Giant Club, as well as Scaly Skins, though he's got armor, heavy armor, and a 5-up armor save. Right next to him in the center is Scaros of the Bloodstorms. He is my Gorgon. He's packing Cleaver Limbs, as well as Callous Hide, which is basically light armor. And then right next on the right hand side is Motionless in the Moonlight, who is my Cygor. He's got Claws, as well as her Hurl Attack, as well as the Callous Hide for light armor as well. And deployed forward using scouting special rule are the Red Nails, a unit of 5 Harpies, and those guys are armed with hand weapons. And finally, on the side is my ambushing units. On the left-hand side, that unit's called the Nightbreed. Is a unit of 20 gore with a True Horn as well as Standard Bearer Musician. They're packing additional hand weapons, and they have the Ambusher special rule. Right next on the right-hand side is my last of my special choices. That is called the Brazen Bulls. It is a unit of 8 Minotaurs with a Standard Bearer as well as a Musician. 4 of these guys are packing additional hand weapons. The other 4 are packing great weapons, and they're all packing light armor as well. And they also have the Ambusher rule as well. And then last on the far right-hand side, that is Mother Darkness. She is my Great Bray Shaman. She's a level 4 wizard with the lore of demonology as well as lore of beasts. She's packing a Bray staff as well as riding a Razor Gore chariot. She's got a Besagor crew with a great weapon, a Gore crew member with a cavalry spear as well as a Razor Gore. She's also got the Ambusher special rule attached to her. She has Pelt to Midnight, which gives her enemy unit -1 to hit against for shooting attacks, and she's also packing 2 Dispel Scrolls. And that makes up my army for this one. So moving on to the other side of the table for my friend Iron Major, on the far left-hand side is the Golden Grievance, which is a gyro bomber, and right there in the center is Clan Stormcloak, the Brethren of Windhelm. It is a huge unit of 37 hammers with great weapon, with standard bearers as well as musicians. These guys are packing great weapons as well as heavy armor as well as shields. Now in that unit, of course, are 3 different characters. First of all, we have Ivar Bodison, the King of Fallen Holds. He is a king who's also the general of this army. He is packing a runic great weapon as well as runic full plate armor as well as a shield, and he's also riding shield bearers. He's got the Master Rune of Swiftness to give him always strikes first. He's also got the Rune of Speed to give him +1 to his initiative, the Rune of Iron, and 2 runes of Fortitude to increase his wounds as well as his toughness characteristics. At the same time, we also have Ragnar, Yorick Shatter Shield, the Chosen of Grugni. He is the army, he's a thing, he's also the army's battle standard bearer. He's packing a Grunic great weapon as well as full plate armor as well as a shield. He's got the Master Rune of Grugni on his banner, giving him a 5-up ward save as well as a 6-up ward save for the entirety of the unit. And he's also got 3 runes of speed, so that way he's got really quick initiative as well. And then we also have Ragnar the Spellbreaker. He is a rune smith with a great weapon, full plate armor, and shield. He's also got the Master Rune of Balance as well as the Rune of Spellbreaking, so that way he's really powerful with the anti-magical abilities. Continuing down the Rhine, on the left-hand side, that is Clan Helheim, the Fall of the Dragonbacks. He's unit 17 Thunderers with a Standard Bearer Musician. They're packing handguns, great weapons, as well as heavy armor and shield. And they're also led by a character named Grim Borlixson, who is an engineer with hand weapon, heavy armor, as well as a handgun. Right next on the right-hand side, that is Clan Izmir, the Vengeful Ones. They're a unit of 18 Quarrelers with Standard Bearer Musician. They got crossbows, great weapons, heavy armor, as well as shields. And then right behind them is the War Machine Posse. On the left-hand side, that is the Decembers, which is an organ gun. Behind them is a grudge sword called Return to Sender with the Rune of Forging, and right next on the right hand side is the Sars of El, which is a cannon with the Rune of Forging as well as the Rune of Burning. And lastly, deployed on the far right-hand side near my deployment area is Clan Roadsulker. The Curse Company is a unit of 39 Dwarf Rangers, led by an old Deadeye with Standard Bearer as well as Musician. These guys are packing everything. They're packing great weapons, hand weapons, crossbows, throwing axes, heavy armor, as well as shield, and they also have the Rune of Courage on their banner as well. And they're led by 2 characters. The first one is a character named Torstick Blackbriar. He is a rune smith who's got a great weapon as well as full plate armor, as well as a shield, and 2 runes of spell breaking. And that pretty much makes up the deployment for my friend Iron Major. So now that we're done with deployment, let's go directly to battle plans and strategies. So let's go ahead and talk about battle plans so far. So as you can see, we're playing on a 4x6 table. My friend Iron Major is deployed on the far side of the table, as you can see over here. So I'm going to zoom in real quick. He's got running basically a Dwarven gun line, but with the old world rules instead. So he's got a huge unit of hammers as well as some missile troops and some war machines. He's also got a gyro bomber, which is kind of interesting as well. And at the same time, on my right hand flank here, as you can see, he's also deployed a huge honking unit of 40 Dwarf Rangers with crossbows and all the bells and whistles. So that part's going to be kind of something I got to deal with as well. So I'm probably might have to peel out some of my monsters to kind of deal with these Rangers. But then again, I could also just outmaneuver him because he is dwarves. They are kind of slow. So I also have that option available to me as well. At the same time, as well, as you look here across the table, let me go and zoom in real quick. As you can see right there, I also got a unit of 5-man unit of Harpies. My plan is to have those guys charge in as quickly as possible in order to engage these war machines. That way they're causing some chaos that way, and hopefully I can, destroy a war machine or 2 before they actually engage with my army. Now, I do realize that my army is quite small right now on the tabletop, and the reason why is because half of my army is actually set off to the side. I actually have a unit of 4 Minotaurs, as well as 25 gore, as well as a Great Bray Shaman mounted on a Gore Beast chariot. Not Gore Beast chariot, Tuskor chariot. There we go. Gotta remember the the new names because I'm playing a new army. Those guys are waiting off the side in order to ambush later on. I might have them pop up at the back over there, so that way I can start causing some chaos against my enemy. So yeah, that's pretty much what my battle plan is on this one. So that being said, my friend Iron Major and I are going to roll off to see who's going to go first for turn number 1. We'll be right back after their initiatives. So that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1 for the strategy phase, and as you see, nothing much really happened here. The reason why is because my wizard for my army is not currently on the table, and nothing is going on right now that requires me to use any command effects during this command sub phase. So pretty short-lived strategy phase for turn number 1. So that being said, we're going to move on now to the movement phase for turn 1. So this is the aftermath of the movement phase for my Beastmen Brayherds, and the first thing I did, of course, was to basically move motionless in the moonlight, my Cygor. I decided to keep him back, and the reason why is because I just didn't feel comfortable with the fact of having some dwarves coming out my 6 o'clock who could actually shoot at me with some crossbows. So I decided to actually have him turn to face directly against Clan Roadstalker, the Cursed Company. The reason why I did this is because I can start lobbing rocks directly at them, and hopefully I can break these guys if I cause enough damage that way. And at the same time, if I need to, I can engage these guys in close combat, and by the time that they get done fighting my Cygor, my army will be well out of reach of these dwarves causing any problems. So that's the plan there. Meanwhile, the rest of my main body moved as quickly as they possibly can because I am playing Beastmen Brayherds, and if I'm not engaged in close combat, I am doing something very wrong. So I just moved across the battlefield as quickly as I could, doing a lot of marching for the most part. So the first thing I did, of course, is I marched through the red nails, which are my 5 harpies. I had them fly 20 inches across the battlefield directly behind the war machines. So that way I can set up for a good charge behind those war machines on my next turn. I do think it's kind of bogus that scouting units can't charge because what's the point if you don't send them up to do that, but that's just me. And then meanwhile, of course, I marched with the rest of my army. I set up the Snarling Beasts first, moving up their maximum allowance to act as a human shield to protect my Hooves of Doom, which is my huge unit of Bestigor, my General Peliquin, the Doomcaller, as well as Cabal of Constant Sorrows. I also moved up the Mooncalves by having them march up forward as well. Now, they won't be able to shoot because they marched up forward, but hopefully I can create like a good base of fire to open fire with the short bows. Hopefully I can whittle down some of these dwarves before I actually engage them in close combat. Meanwhile, over here, my cavalry elements, which are my Stormbringers, they marched up directly on the other side of this ruin here. My plan here is to have these guys, as well as the Beast of the Minion, my Chaos Giant, and Scaros of the Bloodstorm, which was my Gorgon. Hopefully I can swoop around to the right-hand side, then charge right into the flank and catch my opponent in a pincer attack. What I'm trying to go for, ideally, is a total envelopment by having some ambush units pop up in the back, as well as a left-hand flank, and then I can hopefully surround and pound my opponent and defeat them that way. So with the move phase over with, time for me to go on the shooting phase with motionless in the movement. So now we're back to the shooting phase for turn number 1. Motion-wise, decided to launch an attack with a turtle attack and managed to get a direct hit directly off on Clan Roadstalker. Managed to kill 7 of those Dwarf Rangers, which is absolutely fantastic as well. Now, granted, that does leave my Cygor being exposed, being charged, as well as being shot by Clan Roadstalker. But like I said before, I'm willing to sacrifice my Cygor if that basically allows me the rest of my army to kind of close in and destroy the main body of the dwarves. And that pretty much makes up my turn because we skip combat phase because not engage in close combat. We go directly to the bottom of the turn for the Dwarfen Holds for Iron Major. I'll be right back after his command phase. So we're now at the bottom of turn number 1, I'm sorry, for the Dwarfen Mountain Holds for Iron Major, and this is after both the command phase as well as the movement phase. For the command phase, there wasn't really much to do because Iron Major has nothing to trigger the command phase at this point. And when it comes to his movement phase is actually quite lackluster. As you can see, he pretty much kept almost all of his infantry forces directly where they need to be at. Didn't move those guys at all. The only real dramatic movement took place over here on the left-hand side where the Gildan Grievance actually marched, flew all the way on the left-hand side. Looks like he's ready to open fire with his Brimstone gun directly into my Mooncalves, then maybe pull off a bombing run later on in turn number 2. And the second most dramatic movement took place over here with the Clan Roadstalker. All they did is they moved out 3 inches forward, so that way they're within 9 inches, so I can't use my hurl stone attacks anymore. But that also puts them in range of fire their crossbows. Now, they do have to worry about suffering -2 to hit because of Ponderous, but Iron Major, the rationale was that he couldn't make a charge anyways directly into my Cygor, so he might as well move up a little bit so that way he can get out of range of being hurled to death, and that way he can keep on shooting crossbow fire at my Cygor. So, all things considered, is actually probably the best of all the alternatives that he had at that time. So with that being said, that pretty much makes it the move phase, so we go directly to the shooting phase. So let's go ahead and talk about the dwarf shooting phase real quick. So first of all, the golden grievance opened up with its brimfire gun directly into the mooncalves. Managed to kill one of those guys, so that part was kind of interesting. Kind of lackluster, all things considered. However, Clan Helheim, the Fall of the Dragonbacks, opens up with their dwarf guns and just totally destroys the snarling beast. Now, lucky for me, everybody passed their panic checks, so nothing bad happened there. But the snarling beasts have been destroyed, and that's kind of sad because now I have to go John Wick mode for hurting my doggo. Now, at the same time, of course, you have Clan Izmir. These guys were the vengeful ones. They opened fire with their crossbows directly into my Stormbringers. Managed to put 2 wounds directly into one of my Dragon Ogres. So that part was kind of sad. I forgot that my Dragon Ogres are only toughness 4, and those crossbows are strength 4, so oof, kind of scary. I got pretty lucky, all things considered, as well. However, the real victims over here that took a real beating, though, were 2 major units. The first one was my Hooves of Doom. Basically, Iron Mages started contrary fire with both the Sorrows of the Decemberists, which is his Ogre Gun, as well as the Return Descender, which is his Crush Thrower. They opened up directly onto my Bestigors and managed to kill a good chunk of those guys, basically costing quarter of the casualties, killing 7. I did have to take a panic test, but lucky for me, though, I did pass my panic test, no problem. I will admit, though, the dwarves have been kind of nerfed a little bit with their war machines, especially with engineering runes, so I will admit that. So luckily for me, I mean, it's kind of great for me, but not so great for my buddy Iron Major, which, you know, everyone knows what my opinion is about nerfing. Now, at the same time, the Stars L, which is the Great Can over there, opened fire directly onto Skaros of the Bloodstorms. Managed to put 3 wounds directly onto my Gorgon, so that part was crazy. Once again, war machines have been kind of nerfed. Instead of causing D6 wounds, now they only cause D3 wounds on cannons, which is kind of lame, but, you know, good lucky for me because I'm a Beastman player, but kind of sad for my opponents, but oh well, all things considered, over here is pretty good. Over here, of course, the dwarves started to open fire with their crossbows. They did nothing against Motionless and White. I think one shot made it because of the Ponderous special rule, so that one shot just kind of bounced off Motionless and White, so I am pretty lucky there. I do have a really hard call to make whether I should send him in to charge directly into these guys and fight them, or should I just move on and, you know, not even deal with them. But, you know, something I gotta think about, which is kind of nice because I can just move back and then throw my stone again because my Gorgon can do that. Maybe I'll do that and just kind of bait my enemy the entire time. That'd be kind of cool as well. Now, of course, obviously we skipped the combat phase because no one's engaged in close combat, and that finishes our very first turn of this game, which is my very first game of Warhammer the Old World. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Beastmen Brayherds. So we're back at the top of turn number 2. This is both after the strategy phase, the command phase, as well as the movement phase. So let's talk about exactly what ended up happening. So during the command phase, I decided to blast the Brayhorn. I had to pass a leadership test with Peliquin. The Doomcaller managed to pass that leadership test. What that basically means that every single time I now have an ambushing unit on the table, I can re-roll a failed ambushing attempt in case that happens for the remainder of the game. So that part is kind of cool. So I managed to get that one off, and I was able to get 2 of my ambushing units onto the table. Now, when it comes to the rest of the movement phase, pretty much I just marched up as quickly as I possibly could for most of my army. I marched up the Hooves of Doom up their maximum move allowance of 10 inches forward, so that way they can set themselves up for a charge directly against one of those juicy little infantry units over there, either crossbowmen or for the, for the handgunners, Thunderers. So that'd be kind of nice. At the same time, I just moved up the Mooncalves, their normal move allowance, so that way they can open fire with their short bows directly into the dwarves. Hopefully I can whittle down some of that missile fire that I've been taking during that time period as well. Meanwhile, over here on the top, this is the most impressive part. It looks really impressive. My horde of monsters just marches up, leading off with the Stormbringers first, as well as the Beasts of Midian, getting ready to charge directly into the flank over there. I did take Skaros of the Bloodstorms. I have him marched up forward to keep with the rest of the team, but I kind of stuck him behind this tree, so that way he doesn't keep on getting shot at with cannon fire, because he is about halfway dead with 3 wounds. I do have to worry about that. Now, meanwhile, down over here on the bottom, I did move back, motionless in the moonlight. I'm moving back as normal allowance, so that way I can lob another stone directly at these dwarves. I just think it's kind of funny to just basically, you know, bait them along and then shoot at them with stone throwing every single time I can, which is fantastic. Which I can do, because I'm a monster, not a war machine, which is great. Now, my ambushing units did come on. First of all, we have my honking huge unit of 8 Minotaurs. Those guys are awesome. The Brazen Bulls, all 8 of them will end up on this side of the battlefield, deploying outside of 8 inches of any enemy contacts, getting them set up for a beautiful flank charge here a little while here in a second. And at the same time, I also brought in Mother Darkness as well as her chariot. So that way she can charge directly into this gyrocopter and blow it off the table. Hopefully I could do so during the shooting phase with my magical spells. So that'd be kind of great as well. And I did forget to mention this before. Let me go and zoom in real quick. I did declare a charge with the red nails, which are my harpies, and they go directly into the Decemberist, which is the organ gun. That one for me is the most terrifying of all the war machines. So hopefully I can bog down that war machine for a couple of turns. So that way it's not shooting at my people. And that pretty much makes up my move phase as well as my strategy phase. So that being said, we go directly to the shooting phase. So now we're back with Iron Major's shooting phase real quick. It was pretty lackluster, all things considered. So let's go and talk about that real quick. So first of all, Clan Helheim, the Fall of the Dragonbacks, cannot shoot right now because they're currently engaged in close combat with the Red Nails. However, Return to Cinder as well as the Sorrows of Eld, they did open fire as well. The Sorrows of Eld actually opened fire with Grave Shot directly into my Minotaurs. Managed to kill one of my Brazen Pulls and pull a floating wound another one. At the same time, the Grudge Thrower Return to Cinder did try to shoot directly at the at my Hooves of Doom, but unfortunately the scatter shot went way off. It went off about 10 inches to the right-hand side, landing right in the middle of the ruin. He then tried to fire again, but tried to re-roll that artillery die because of his artillery master, but it didn't do much of a difference. Landed directly on 10 again, so it didn't go anywhere either. So that part was kind of rough for Iron Major, so his shots didn't go out there. Clan Ysmir, the Vengeful ones, though, did open fire with their crossbows. Unfortunately for Iron Major, though, he had a tragedy on that one. Managed to put one additional wound directly onto my Stormbringers, so I got one who's barely alive. But the main piece de resistance of the shooting phase, however, was between right over here with Clan Roadstoker, the Curse Company, as well as Motionless in White. Iron Major decided not to move this time and opened fire with 20 shots of crossbows. Managed to put 5 wounds directly onto Motionless in White, which is 8 of his 6 wounds in total. I believe some of those shots went right through his armor save, so because of that, he just dropped. I could not make any 6s to save my life. And just like that, Motionless in White has died. So that part was pretty tragic as well. With that being said, that ends the shooting phase. With that being said, let's go directly to the combat phase. So during the combat phase, Iron Major had no problem destroying my Red Nails. Apparently fighting Dwarf Gunners, Thunderers with great weapons is a bad idea for Harpies. Those guys killed my Red Nails to the last man. It was absolutely fantastic for my opponent, Iron Major. Got some payback and managed to destroy my entire unit of Harpies. And that pretty much made up his combat phase for this one. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Beastmen Brayherds. Let's get it on. So we are back now at the top of turn number 3. This is after the command phase as well as the move phase. So let's talk about what ended up happening. So first of all, in the command phase, I was able to blast onto the Brayhorn again, so that way I could get rerolls for my ambushing units, so that way I can get my last unit of Gore, the Nightbreed, directly onto the table as well. At the same time, I also cast the Mark of Gorok directly onto Mother Darkness, and when I rolled to see exactly how much I increased my attacks and strength by, I rolled a 6, which is great, so I got plus 6 strength and plus 6 attacks. At the same time, I also suffered a wound, though, and I decided to go after, during the move phase, to go marching after the helicopter here real quick with the Golden Grievance because, you know, I got a Rager, and I just want to destroy them with everything that I have on me. Meanwhile, in the movement phase, as you can see, everybody just kind of swarmed forward. It's absolutely fantastic. So first of all, I got the Moon Calves who charge directly into the front with the Brotherhood of Elias. So I got those guys, the Clan Stormcloak, the Brethren of Windhelm. So those guys are now engaged in close combat. I then sent forward the my Hooves of Doom directly into Clan Helheim, Fall of the Dragonbacks. I did manage to shoot one of my Bessigor away, so they're charged directly in there. Meanwhile, my Stormbringers managed to charge directly into Clan Ysmir and catch him in a pincer attack alongside the Beast of the Midian who caught him on the flank. I did lose one of my my Dragon Ogres in the process of doing so, but, you know, them's the breaks. Meanwhile, over here, you can kind of see, let me see if I can get a better angle on this one. So as you can see here, my Brazen Bulls have started to charge directly into the Sorrows of Eld. So because of that, we have now that cannon caught in close combat as well. Meanwhile, over here, I decided to move up Scarros of the Bloodstorms, just moved up his normal moon allowance, just to basically snip in there to kind of slip in wherever he can to cause chaos because he's been damaged pretty badly and I don't want him to get hurt too bad. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase for this one. So the movement phase over with, we're going to skip the shooting phase because everybody I can shoot with is engaged in close combat, and we're going to go directly to the combat phase. Alright, so now we're back to the combat phase. If you notice, I'm over here in the corner now looking at the battle that took place before us, so that way you guys have a little bit easier time of seeing it. And the reason why is because the combat phase has dramatically been changed with Warhammer the Old World. So let's talk about exactly what ended up happening. So the fight here between Clan Stormcloak versus the Mooncalves was not all that great. I lost all my Mooncalves except for my front rank, so that part was absolutely horrible. So I was unable to attack back. I was able to attack first because I had the higher initiative, so I killed one warrior, but they absolutely massacred these guys. I'm going to break and flee. I rolled a 4 in order to flee. These guys rolled a 5, so we'll resolve that here in a second after this battle is over. Meanwhile, over here, I was able to kill 4 members of Clan Helheim. They followed the dragon back. They were able to kill 2 of my Bestigor as well. I do win combat. These guys are going to fall back in good order, which means they're going to fall back 2 inches and stay in formation. I'm going to go after them here in a second. Meanwhile, over here for Clan Izmir real quick. So let's talk about them for the vegetable ones. So these guys lost 6 warriors all set in total. The dwarves lost 6 warriors. My dragon ogres lost nothing. Same thing with my giant. My giant's attack was headbutt, which he basically did to 1 attack and was able to kill one of the guys that way. He did try to get a supporting attack in for one of his other fighters, directly my giant, but he failed to wound. So because of that, we're going to talk about exactly what happened to those guys here in a second. And same thing over here. As you can see, my Brazen Bulls had no problem just eliminating and destroying these Sorrows of Eld right off the bat. So we're going to come back real quick after we get done with our resolutions, and we'll come back and talk about what happened for the combat phase. So let's go on and talk about exactly what ended up happening at the end of the combat phase. As I said before, Clan Stormcloak had no problem pursuing after the Mooncalves, killed them all at the last man, and also charged up 4 to 5 inches, getting ready to slam directly into my Nightbreed, which is my huge column of gores that I have coming up onto the table. Meanwhile, over here, Clan Izmir got pushed back 2 inches, and my Hooves of Doom decided to fall up forward. I couldn't keep engaging with them. Meanwhile, over here on the top, you notice my Dragon Ogres are gone. And the reason why is because they pursued Clan Izmir off of the table, so they'll come back on my next turn when they show up on the other side. Meanwhile, I did decide to overrun real quick with the Beast of the Midian, who charged directly into the flank of Clan Helheim. And exactly the same thing ends up happening with the Brazen Bulls, who charge directly into the Return to Cinder as well. And that pretty much makes up the combat phase for turn number 3. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of the turn for my friend Iron Major. So we go directly to the bottom of the turn, and this is after both the strategy phase as well as the move phase, so let's talk about what ended up happening. So first of all, Iron Major declares a charge real quick with his Stormcloaks. Clan Stormcloak goes directly into the Nightbreed, so because of now both units are now engaged in close combat. Meanwhile, over here on the top over here, Clan Helheim is still engaged in close combat with my Bestigors as well as with my Giants, the Beast of the Midian, as well as the Hooves of Doom are currently engaged in close combat there. Same thing with the very last, the War Machines Return to Cinder is currently engaged in close combat with my Brazen Bulls as well. Meanwhile, over here, the Golden Grievance actually just flew up forward 7 inches with the March Fly and then basically turned around so that way he could open fire with his Brimstone gun directly into Mother Darkness and her Chariot. And then over here on the far right-hand side, Iron Major decided to activate Clan Roadsulker, who put them directly into column formation, so they're 4 wide and many wings deep, and that allows them to travel 3 times as fast with their marches. They travel 9 inches as they're making their way directly towards the rest of the battle and try to get involved as well. And that pretty much makes it the move phase. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. So now we're at the bottom of the turn after the combat phase. So start off with a fight between Clan Stormcloak as well as the Nightbreed. So the Nightbreed managed to kill 1 member of Clan Stormcloak. Starting Stormcloak, however, managed to kill 5 members of my team, so I was pretty sad about that part. I did have to fall back, but I fell back in good order. I fell back 6 inches and they charged forward 8, so we're still engaged in close combat, so that part's kind of rough over here. Meanwhile, over here is all kinds of victories up at the top. I managed to finish up the last of Clan Izmir, so because of that, the Beast of the Midian as well as the Hooves of Doom are now making their way directly towards my enemy's rear flank there. Same thing with the Brazen Bulls. They're able to kill off the very last of the War Machines, which is the Return to Cinder, so they're done as well. And then, of course, that pretty much makes it the combat phase. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Beastmen Brayherds. So we're back now at the top of turn number 4. So the very first thing I do for my command phase, of course, is that I decide to use Mark of Gorok directly on Mother Darkness. This time I'm giving her +2 strength and +2 attacks. That way I plan on charging her directly into the Golden Grievance, so that way I can finally destroy it as well. My plan here as well is also catch the Clan Stormcloak in a pincer attack. Hopefully I can pivot my Bestigors over directly to hit the back flank, so that way it's sandwiched between both the Nightbreed as well as my Hooves of Doom as well. At the same time, I have my Giant also kind of go around and try to catch up as well. My other plan is to make sure they reform these monsters to face the rest of these guys, that way I can take them out, and that's pretty much what my plan is going to be for the strategy phase. So with that being said, we go directly to the movement phase. So we're now back at the top of turn number 4. This is pictures taken after the movement phase, and let's go and talk about exactly what ended up happening. So first of all, I declared a charge with my Hooves of Doom. They managed to smash directly 11 inches directly into the right-hand flank of the Skyline Stormcloaks. Now we got these guys in a pincer attack, and that was my first major charge that took place. And secondly, I declared a charge with Mother Darkness as well as her Tuskcore Chariot, and I managed to smash directly into the front of the Golden Grievance. So now those guys are engaging in close combat. Now, Iron Major did elect to actually stand and shoot as a reaction, so he did open fire with his Brimstone gun. Managed to hit me 4 times, but unfortunately, when it comes to the rolls for Iron Major this game, he's been really dropping the ball on the wound rolls because they failed to wound me on that part, so I managed to close the distance there. Meanwhile, the rest of the move phase, I took Scaros of the Bloodstorms, had him march directly behind this church, that way we could take cover from these Rangers, that way they don't shoot him to death. At the same time, I also reformed my Brazen Bulls, made them go 180, so that way they can start making their way directly down to this corner over here. And then I also marched up the Beasts of Midian directly towards the back to get these guys a 3-way attack. And hopefully I can smash them through attrition. And that's pretty much the move phase we have for this one. So the move phase over with, we skip the shooting phase because I have no shooting options, and we go directly to the combat phase. So we are back at the end of the combat phase. As you can see, Mother Darkness had no problem whatsoever destroying the Golden Grievance. It was a combination of impact hits as well as my Beastman Shraymans using his Brave Shaman staff. Getting off those Strength 8 attacks was absolutely brutal. Managed to smash to pieces that Gyrocopter managed to blow up to his lesser elements, so that part wasn't really nice. However, the big action that took place over here on the left-hand side, as you can see, a lot of death took place. Korn would be happy if he was actually watching the battle. As you can see, I was able to kill 8 of the members of Korn Stormcloak, and at the same time, they're able to kill 8 of my guys as well. However, because I got the charge off on the flank, I did disrupt them, meaning they're losing their rank bonuses, so because I was able to overwhelmingly win this battle by over 8 points, because that does require Clan Stormcloak to break. Unfortunately for our Iron Major, he did fail his leadership, so he does have to flee back. He flees 8 inches, but the Nightbreed actually rolls 9, so because I do overrun and destroy that unit as well. And instead of taking everything off the table, Iron Major decided to call the quits on this game right here. And there you guys have it. That pretty much ends our very first game of Warhammer the Old World. My very first game. It was really fun. A lot of cool things going on. A lot of interesting things going on with the rules mechanics, but I'll talk about that in the after action report because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright people, now it's time for the After Action Report. This is part of the battle report. We talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the After Action Report for Warhammer the Old World Battle Report number 1. It was a 3,000 point battle fought between my friend Iron Major with the Nation of Fallen Holds, his Dwarfen Mountain Holds army, versus yours truly with my Herds of Doom of the Beastmen Brayherds. And this one ended up being a victory for yours truly. In the end, my opponent, Iron Major, was able to score 465 victory points, while I was able to score 2,495 victory points. Iron Major lost Ivar Bodison, the King of Fallen Holds, Yorick Shattershield, the Chosen of Grugny, Ragnar the Spellbreaker, Grim Berlikson, Clan Ysmir, the Vengeful Ones, Clan Helheim, the Fall of the Dragonbacks, Clan Stormcloak, the Brethren of Windhelm, Return to Center, the Sorrows of Eld, the Decemberists, as well as the Golden Grievance. Me, on the other hand, I lost the Mooncalves, the Snarl Beast, the Red Nails, and Motionless in Moonlight. Now, I am really happy to win that I won my very first game of Warhammer the Old World, but it was a very steep learning curve. I will admit now, we probably made a ton of rule mistakes, but we're still learning the game, so we're probably going to be making a lot more errors later on down the line. Now, I think that probably had more to do with anything else about me winning my victory. I doubt it had anything to do with my generalship in this battle. It was more like kind of like luck and the fact that we're still learning the rules. Granted, Iron Major probably should have kept his Rangers with the main body of his army, but that's not really the main focus here. And the reason why is because dwarves were nerfed quite a bit in this edition. Their engineering ruins are very lacking and nowhere near as powerful as in Warhammer Fantasy, which is kind of a shame. I mean, granted, it worked out for me, which is awesome, but, you know, it's kind of bad for my opponent. At the same time, Beastmen Brayherds seem a lot more powerful in this edition of the game, much more reliable and less prone to panicking, failing their ambushing rules, and also just being mowed over really easily like they were in previous editions. Now, the strategy phase in this game is kind of a strange one. It is really useful for some abilities and for rallying units, but in my opinion, you just might as well just add it to the movement phase in that case. Now, granted, I totally neglected to use the Gates of the Gods rules, so I guess there is something to the strategy phase, but I don't know, it just seems kind of cumbersome for some reason. And that's going to lead me to talk about some of the major differences between Warhammer Fantasy as well as Warhammer the Old World. The movement phase is still the same as always, so not much change there, and plus having magic being split between different phases of the game is quite interesting. I find that casting and dispelling spells is much easier in this edition and is a lot less chaotic and prone to just the fate of the dice, which I find really nice as well. Shooting phase is also interesting as well. I found it really weird that the strength modifiers to armor was removed entirely in this game, which is very telling, and you can really see the difference in both the shooting phase as well as the combat phase. I'm not sure why they did this. I mean, I know there's Armor Bane, but there's only 1 in a 6 chance of actually triggering Armor Bane, so just makes it very cumbersome to keep an eye on your rolls. So just throw the strength modifiers back in instead. It was much easier to understand in my opinion. Cannons were also interesting. It was interesting to see this one drop from D3 damage instead of D6 damage. I guess players couldn't figure out how to use terrain to protect their valuable monsters, so their answer was to nerf cannons, which is kind of sad. Also, combat is also very cumbersome in this game. I find that this whole first rank fight only thing with no supporting attacks in the back ranks and potentially not having any returning attacks is really messed up. I don't know why they did that. It made it very cumbersome and kind of hard to figure out. That's kind of strange. I'm not sure what the point of that was. Also, breaking, flinging, falling back in good order, and all these other strange rules. I'm not sure why they did that. I suppose it's to make regiments more survivable in combat, but in the end, all it really does is makes combat much more overly complicated and very unnecessary in my opinion. It was kind of weird trying to figure out, okay, how do we do the rolls and what modifiers do we count? Did you fall back or did you really not fall back? It was really, really strange. Magic items are also very different in this game as well. I find that it's interesting that you have a lack of ward saves, regen saves in this game, as well as powerful magical items, so that part was kind of interesting. I guess it's kind of nice because now you get to see a lot of variety of different magical items, but it was kind of strange to see that. Also, that lack of strength modifier is going to end up killing me, and the reason why is because my character carries a giant blade, which makes my general strength 6, which should give me a -2 to enemy armor saves, as well as multiple wounds too, but it doesn't. Now, granted, there is Armor Bane, which is nice, but I'll have a 1 to 6 chance of actually doing -2 AP, in which case I might as well just take a great weapon, because then at least that way I can get that reliable -2 AP as well. And besides, you're trying to tell me that a strength 6 great weapon has the same penetration power as a cannonball? I severely doubt that in real life, so I'm not sure why they did that whole strength modifier thing. It was kind of weird. Anyways, though, I love how they combine profiles of chariots, mounts, and monsters now. That part is kind of nice, and I do feel like such items are not very much now worth the point values as well as the investments that you can put in an army, so that part is kind of nice as well. So you'll be seeing a lot more of those kind of things in battle reports, I feel. In the end, however, this was an extremely fun game to play. It was wonderful to get back onto the tabletop again and start to throw dice and actually playing battles again with my friends, and playing with Iron Major was the perfect guy to actually play my very first game of Warhammer the Old World with. I was really happy playing against him, and as always, I am looking forward to the rematch on that one. So that's good with you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. I will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.